is Funny
Hi.
Minds, and I'm your host, Lynn B, and my co-host is,
Edward Biss.
and we are with Phil Johnson right now, and Phil's got his whole his whole orchestra out there for us.
Tearing it up. I love it.
Comedian, musician, songwriter, and you have a club. Do you have a club?
No, I don't have a club.
Oh, no club. Okay, all right. Then
You don't
I've
beat
always thought
anybody
about
with
it, but I don't have a
what's
club.
all right? So what's Roadside Attractions? What?
Oh, that is my band. Yeah.
Oh, that's your band.
Yes,
Okay.
Roadside Attraction is the name of the band. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Forgive her. She has purple hair.
It goes to my head.
She has a brain.
So Phil, what do you play everything? What are you doing there?
Well, this is my recording studio that we're looking at the moment. I play quite a few instruments, not all, some of them better than others, that's for sure. I'm primarily a guitarist and a singer, but I can hack my way around a bass. I'm a decent piano player, pretty terrible drummer, but technology makes it sound like I know what I'm doing.
Oh,
There's a
that's good.
mandolin. There's a mandolin up there and a banjo over there that I'm terrible at. So yeah.
So you've got it all covered here. You're a one-man show.
A lot of the time, yeah. So most of the time, I do perform solo in comedy clubs and things like that. I haven't had a chance to actually perform with my band in a few years now, because that's a bigger undertaking. But it's always fun when we get to do it.
God, yes, it is. Comedy, at least you're on your own. You write it, you
Yes,
do as you want. You don't have to answer to anybody.
yeah.
I feel
And
you.
the
I feel you on that one.
the flip side of that was that the first time I stood on a stage with just a microphone in my hand and nothing else, no other music. Because well, here's the way it went. When I was a kid, I played the flute. That was my first instrument. And I was playing in orchestras, things like that, all the way through college. So being on stage with 80 or 100 other people, and then I started playing in rock bands, and that was being on stage with 6 or 8 other people. Okay, easier. And then I became the singer of the rock band, and then it was like, okay, well now I'm out front, and then it was okay. I'm going to be doing solo gigs as a musician. Now it's still me and my guitar, but it's just me. And then there was that first time where I put the guitar down and just had a microphone and had to be responsible for the entertainment of an entire room. And that was terrifying.
Honestly, it really is. I've done it, and I feel your pain. Like
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying because I am a professional musician. I've done
Uh-huh.
comedy, so I know exactly what it's like to be on stage with a band. You have a team behind you, so
Sure.
it's a team effort. Like you just got to pull your weight. But comedy, it's like you're on an island,
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
and
Exactly.
it's like 5 minutes is 5 hours. You
Yeah. Oh,
know.
for sure. Especially if it's not going well. And
Yes.
at this point, I've been doing comedy for 18 years. Now it's a matter of, oh, there's other people on the stage. No, get out of my way. This is my stage. Yeah, it's
So
different.
what clubs are you usually in?
I perform
Do
all
you
over
do a
the country.
circuit? Do you travel or?
Yep, I sure do. Yeah, I perform all over the country. I've been doing the last couple of years. It's been more West Coast work, but I'm starting to branch out again more this year. I've got shows coming up in Oregon, Washington, North Carolina, Massachusetts, Ohio, Minnesota. Yeah, this year, lots of different places.
So that's awesome. Thank God. Post COVID, I mean, obviously that was a huge thorn in our side for
Yeah.
you and I. At that point in time. But you're based out of the West Coast. You're based out of Cali.
Yep. Yep. San Jose,
Okay.
California is my home base. Yeah.
So how good does it feel to now it's over and you're back in the swing and now you're able to get on a plane again or get out there
Yeah.
and start
It's
to
nice
see
because
people.
yeah, a big part of why I do this job is for the travel and because I really like traveling.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's nice to be able to get back out on the road and go some places. And my girlfriend and I just got back from Hawaii, an actual true to life vacation, which doesn't happen very often.
Gotta
Yeah, so
love it.
it is nice to get back out there and see the world a little bit because it was tough. I mean, even after things started opening up, everybody was looking for bookings. And so,
Right.
everybody was trying to fill their calendars again. And it's just sort of taken some time to even out and now start to be able to book some stuff on a regular basis.
Well, the thing we faced was I was in the tribute world, and the thing we faced was we want you, but we don't want to pay the full price because we don't know we can't sell full capacity.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So it became like a slow climb
Uh-huh.
financially. You like to get
Sure.
back to where you were with your full contracts.
Absolutely.
But it definitely, I look back at it and I wish I would have used my time wiser,
Mm,
as far as being creative.
mm.
But at that time, I creatively ate a lot of brownies and medicinal, exotic chocolates just to, get through.
It
But
was, I mean, for me, when everything shut down, it it was weird and it was different, but it wasn't that big a deal for me because
yeah,
I've been self-employed for decades. I've been my own boss for decades. When I'm not on the road, I am working at home. Because when I'm not performing, I'm teaching music. And so I've always been working from home doing that anyway. I shifted all my students online when everything shut down.
sure.
And
Okay.
but other than that, that was it. It didn't really change my world all that much, except for, we were washing our groceries when we got them, all that kind of stuff we had to do. My girlfriend, she was on top of it all. She's a germaphobe, and she still has not got COVID. She's like the only person I don't know, or only person I know that hasn't gotten it yet.
Oh my God,
No,
really?
I haven't gotten COVID.
You haven't gotten it either. All right, now I know two people who haven't gotten it.
And
Yeah,
I'm a germaphobe too. And when I used to go to the bank to take some money out, I would literally go with the gloves on, bring it home, and I
Uh-huh.
would wipe down all. I mean, that's how insane I was.
Yeah.
that's
Oh
I
yeah. No,
pretty.
wiped
That's
that's
down
pretty insane.
everything.
That's pretty
Yeah.
insane.
Yep.
That's
I did
so
all that too.
insane.
Yeah.
I second that. That's insane. I
So
was
it
the
was.
one fighting with my wife because she was like, "Get your mask on." I'm like,
Oh.
I don't need a mask. I'm not afraid of anything. This is bull. I was one of those guys. I was like, this is horse shit. Give me COVID. I don't care. I'm not putting a mask on my face. And then traveling, doing music, because we do flying shows, and
Uh-huh.
they were overboard about it. It was
Yeah.
like we had, stewardesses coming around going, get the mask over your nose. And I'm like, no, come on, man, please. It was for me, it was torture. I mean, I get it, but it was torture.
Yeah,
But
it
there are
wasn't fun, but
still,
yeah, I did all this stuff. I had no problem with it, honestly, because I'm a man of science, and so I'm fully on board with that kind of stuff. And I mean, there's so much. It was less odd here in the San Francisco Bay Area because we have such a large Asian population, and that is very commonplace in Asian communities. That if you get a
Yeah.
cold, you throw a mask on.
Yep.
So it wasn't that big a deal, that we were just like, oh, okay, we're just putting the mask on, that's fine.
You're in the Bay
So
Area.
yeah,
Whereabouts?
San Jose. Yeah, I'm in the south. I'm in the midst of Silicon Valley here. So
I
wow.
yeah,
lived for a year out in San Ramon.
okay, nice area. Yeah,
Outside of Walnut Creek.
yep.
I mean, this is a long time ago. I had to go out there for music, but stayed there for a year. And I mean, I went into Southern, but Northern is where I stayed for a year, and
Mm,
it was gorgeous.
nice. It's been a long time
Absolutely
since anybody
gorgeous.
came to the Bay Area for music.
The Bay Area. No, it was back, and this is like 1989 because I'm
Hmm.
an old fart. Um, and the bands out there, you're thinking like, okay, Journey, Metallica, Y&T. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on with the amount of
Sure.
musicians from the Bay Area.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
Santana, obviously.
Sure.
Um, it was like a moment captured in time. I really thoroughly enjoyed my time out there,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was a brief year, but it was so memorable. And the unfortunate thing is I haven't got I was supposed to go out to do a show in Fresno, and it got canceled because of COVID, and
Mm.
I haven't been out to Cali since. But I
Yeah,
love that
you
area.
weren't missing much. You weren't missing much in Fresno. I guarantee.
I know, right?
I was in Fresno last weekend, and you're not missing much. I lived there a couple years when I was a kid. Yeah.
So do you do more comedy or more music?
My show right now is like 75% stand up and then 25% comedy music. I rarely
Okay.
put out like straight serious music anymore. Every once in a while it'll happen, but that's not what
So
pays the
you
bills.
are you talking like you're doing like parody music, like you're doing some comedic music? You're just writing
Yeah,
some funny
yeah,
songs, and
funny songs.
I
I don't
love
generally
that.
do parody. Yeah, I don't generally do parody.
Not
I
parody, but
would,
I'm saying like
yeah,
just your own creative, funny songs.
yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's an
And that's how I
underused
got
talent.
started in comedy. Yeah, that's how I got started in comedy was I had split up with a bunch of the guys that I was playing with in my band, and I was just sitting in my studio with a recorder and just dumping ideas down. And just putting down ideas that they didn't want to do previously. And a couple of them were funny ideas that I ended up developing into full-length songs. And then I did my first album as a singer, and I included a couple of those, and those were the songs that started to click with people when I was performing live. Plus, I had this really bad habit of forgetting my lyrics all the time, and so I would crack jokes.
I
I would
do
crack
too.
jokes as my save mechanism, and once you start to get those laughs, they start to become really addictive. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And then so my friends, my other artist friends, were encouraging me to sort of follow this funny path a little bit. And my mentor at the time, Tim Sweeney, was he was saying, "Hey, you should really like go in that direction." And then I did a show in San Francisco. My very first official comedy show was at a place called the Hyena Theater, and
Mhm.
which doesn't exist anymore. And they had this little comedy music show. Theater, strong word for a room in an industrial building with 12 chairs, but yeah,
Yeah.
I did the show
Right.
there with my 2 or 3 little songs that I had, and the MC that night was a lady named Lynn Ruth Miller, who was at the time starting her own comedy career at the age of 72, I think. And she
Wow.
said, "Hey, I need a guitar player for my act. Do you want to come do it?" And I was like, "Sure. What are we doing?" And she said, "Oh, you're gonna play Anarchy in the UK by the Sex Pistols, and I'm gonna throw lingerie at the audience." And I was like, "All right, I'm in. Let's do it." And so she
Easy
started taking
money.
yeah, she started taking me around all the local venues where comedy shows were happening and introducing me to the community. And she'd go, "Hey, give him a set. He's got some stuff." So they'd put me up for 5 or 7 minutes or whatever, and I'd play my couple goofy little songs. And then Lynn Ruth took it. Excuse me. I've been talking all morning. Lynn Ruth took me to do the Edinburgh Fringe in 2005, I think it was.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that was fantastic, and the whole comedy thing just kind of snowballed from there. And I caught a lot of flack in the beginning for being a guitar comic, because I wasn't doing stand up. All I knew, I had these 3 goofy little songs, and so I thought, if I'm going to be part of this community, I should actually learn how to do this. I'd always been a stand up fan. I just never thought I'd be doing it. And so I started diving into writing, rehearsing, performing, all that kind of stuff, and developing my stand up act. And now I'm really known for both of them. And so every couple of years I'll put out a comedy special. And in between that, I put out songs. Just put out a new single yesterday called Designer Babies. That seems to be doing really well. And so, yeah, I mix both, and people know that they're going to get songs, they're going to get stand up, they're going to get full band productions, they're going to get acoustic albums, all sorts of stuff from me. But for the
That
That's
most part,
is
pretty
it's going to be all
phenomenal.
neat.
funny. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's really neat. I like that. That's very
And
interesting.
you're in a great place to do it, man.
Oh
That
yeah.
that whole Bay Area is a pretty cool place. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been out there, but if it's anything like I remember, I mean, obviously things change, but it was a very cool artistic area. Like, do you remember the Omni in Oakland?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I
I
just talked to
seen
I
I seen
I
Y
used to
and
book it the
T
other day.
there, and it like changed my life. I was like I was 20 years old, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh my god,
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
that area was phenomenal. And the sad thing is, I moved back to New York City 2 weeks before the big earthquake. Remember in '89 the big
Yep.
earthquake? and it was two Northern California teams, San
Yep.
Francisco and Oakland, in the World Series. I moved back 2 weeks before that, and I remember learning of it and trying to call my friends out there, and like the phones weren't working. I was like, oh my god, it's such a people don't understand earthquakes until they're in one. And
Sure.
thankfully, the year I was out there, I didn't have any. But the area itself is so phenomenal. It really
It
is.
is. It's not nearly as artsy as it used to be. I
Mhm.
mean, talking mid '90s, that's when Silicon Valley and tech starts to take over.
Mhm.
And so really it's a tech hub.
Yeah.
There are very few straight music venues that just do music. There's a lot fewer bands. I know the few venues even that we have here oftentimes have trouble finding openers for bands just because
Oh,
all the
really?
bands, it got so expensive to live here that a lot of the musicians had to move out of the area. So,
Yeah.
and it becomes equally tricky for comics. You either have comics that are living kind of out in the hinterlands and coming into
Mhm.
the area to do shows, or they're stacked up, in gang houses somewhere in San Francisco. There's 15 of them living there, all writing jokes. It's a weird scene now, but it's still a nice place. But I play the Bay Area often, but I do it more for workout shows where I'm working on new material and
Working on
or
new
I'm working
stuff, and then you get
on a
out there.
showcase set, or it's very specific what
Yeah.
I'm working on for those shows. And it'll be, I might do a 20-minute show if I'm headlining some showcasey type of thing, but most of the real work is
How many
sort of
how many
places.
shows a year do you go on the road for? Do you
It,
do it a lot of traveling, or you just kind of hit
I
it in spurts?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I say, it used to be. Now it's starting to come back this year, finally, where I've actually got a little bit more of a full schedule. Before everything shut down, I was probably doing 150 shows a year, 175 shows a year,
So
something like that.
that's a
And
good show. That's a good chunk of
yeah.
shows.
Yeah. Oh
Now, if
yeah.
you go to Canada and you do comedy in Canada, you just annihilate them just for
um,
being Canadian.
no, I love doing shows in Canada. I've done shows
Of
in
course.
Edmonton and Vancouver, and I think and some of the outside Edmonton type of places, some very rural places and some very cityfied places. But I love doing shows in Canada. They've always
Have
been
you gone out of country? Have you gone out like to Mexico or maybe over to UK or?
Yeah, I did the Edinburgh Fringe in Scotland, like I mentioned it back in
Mhm.
2005. I've done shows in London, Paris. I feel like there's somewhere else that I can't remember, but Paris was phenomenal. I was hoping to do a show in Italy when we were there, but the only English language show in Rome wasn't running at the time that we had to move there. Um,
But at
but
least,
I had
if you would have
Paris
got
was
dinner
phenomenal.
out of it, it would have been worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy, did
Dinner
we
in
eat on that
Italy.
trip. That's for sure. We ate on
But
that trip.
UK is awesome because UK, I mean, obviously British humor is
Oh yeah.
unmatched, and for you to get over there
Yeah.
and actually enlighten
Yeah.
them on your brand, I mean, they really are very receptive, which is super cool.
They
Oh,
are.
but I
Yeah, they're
like
wonderful.
British humor.
They're a little more subdued audiences than American
Mhm.
audiences are, but I love British humor.
Oh,
And
me too.
I
Yes.
I
Me
had a
too.
British comic opening for me one night, and after the show she said, "You have a very British style," and I said, "I appreciate that very much."
That's actually, yeah,
Yeah.
That's nice.
that's actually a
That's a
compliment,
nice compliment. Yes.
Yeah.
because British
Yeah.
humor, I mean, for you and I'm sure, growing up on Benny Hill, Monty Python,
Oh, Monty
Sure.
Python, the best.
all that came out of Britain, and their style was so insane,
Mhm.
which was my mindset,
Yep.
like, so what are the bigger comedians, let's say, not so much musicians, but comedians that over the years, or I should say early on, influenced you?
Yeah, so speaking of Brits, Eddie Izzard is one of my absolute heroes.
Yes.
And my style is
Yes.
really nothing like Eddie's. Susie, he's going by
No, but
Susie,
he's
but professionally
brilliant.
he's going by Eddie. Yeah. And he's a she now. Eddie
Hmm.
is absolutely one of my heroes. And my style, I've never been able to pull off that style in any sort of lengthy way on stage, but I find it absolutely fascinating.
Oh,
I think
totally.
Jimmy Carr is very funny.
Yes.
On the other side here in the US, Christopher Titus is one of my big guys.
Yep.
I loved Ralphie May. I've watched Ralphie for literally hours in a single
Ralphie May.
Ralphie May, yeah.
Yes.
And he was fantastic.
I'm down here in Tampa, Florida. He was very close with one of our big disc jockeys down here on one of our radio stations. They were like best friends. So Ralphie was always down here, and they were always hanging out. And he was an absolute trip, phenomenal.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, Robin Williams growing up was
Yes.
fascinating to
Oh,
me,
yeah.
you know, and
George Carlin.
Carlin, yeah, I like Carlin at points. I think in the later years he became more ranty than funny, but he's always interesting to listen to. And he's one of the guys where you always have, if you think of a bit, you got to check the Carlin catalog first because chances are he already did it.
Well, I think George's gift was his words and his use of words and how he phrased things. It wasn't so much what his angle was; it was just how he presented it, and it was very unique.
And you look at him, the way he would come out with things. I mean, it was hysterical.
He had a good combination of animation.
Oh, with the animation, yeah.
Obviously, Richard Pryor, for me was massive, and Eddie Murphy. But even back in the day, and you know, despite his legal dealings, whatever is going on, but Bill Cosby, you know,
I know Cosby is always such a sore subject for comics because
it really is. It's sad. It's sad, but as a true comedian, he was for me an influence, you know, because at that day and age, I was listening to albums because I'm old.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
Yeah, the first time I can remember really laughing so hard I couldn't breathe was the dentist from himself. You know? And so it's always a weird spot for comics now.
Exactly.
It was so much there.
It's like a musician. Like I love Michael Jackson. I love his music.
Sure.
I don't love what he did. I just love what he put down. I mean, the guy was revolutionary musically. Yeah. Everything else is what it was, you know.
It's interesting because there is the whole separating the art from the artist type argument, and I find it easier to do with musicians because the music isn't always true to life. You know, it's a story. They're playing characters. Whereas with comedy, stand-up is so much more personal and so much closer to true to life, even if it's exaggerated. Obviously, it's exaggerated, but the comic is talking about things that are happening to them in their life, you know, and it becomes harder to separate the art from the artist. You know, I can't listen to Bill Cosby anymore, but I can listen to Michael Jackson.
That's the same thing with me. I can't either. I can't listen to Bill Cosby, but I can listen to Michael Jackson. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but it's true.
Yeah, I avoided all, and I was always a bigger fan of Prince than Michael Jackson anyway.
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, yeah. Prince is the man. Are you kidding me?
I never liked him.
How could you not like? Are you serious?
I never liked him.
All right. Well, I have to fire her.
And Santana, Santana and Prince. I just for some reason, I couldn't. Man, I just couldn't get into them.
Don't
I
ever get on a plane and go to California if you don't like Santana.
Too bad.
And Prince.
Who was your biggest influence where music is concerned?
Prince, 100%. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. My Mount Rushmore is Prince, Butch Walker, Aerosmith, Metallica, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Aerosmith. And Louis Armstrong.
No, they're all great. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Prince I have a background in jazz, so once I developed that background in jazz, Louis Armstrong really started to pop up a lot. Between those artists covers kind of everything I like to do in music and everything I like to hear in music. And Butch Walker is probably the only one that you may not have heard of in there. If you have not listened to Butch Walker before, go listen to Butch Walker. He is, if there is a master of the rock star format, it's Butch Walker, and he primarily works as a producer these days. He's produced every big rock record in the last 10 years. And he's fantastic, but the stuff that he writes for himself, mind blowing. He was in a band called the Marvelous Three back in the 90s that had one or two hits. And he was in a band called South Gang, if we go back even further into the late 80s. And now he works with his solo bands. And it's phenomenal. He's one of the guys that when I'm writing and I'm stuck, I go, okay, what would Butch do with this? And figure out what he would do with it, But yeah, those are my I think of those people as
it's a
my
great
mentors.
formula.
Yeah. I think of those people
Aerosmith.
as my mentors.
I tried to see Aerosmith 3 times, bought tickets, and either he fell off the stage or he had an operation or something else. Well, I was able to get my money back, but after the third time, I said, that's it. I am never going to buy Aerosmith tickets again. So I never actually physically saw him. Tried to, but
Hey, listen.
Well, they're retiring
Didn't
now. They're on the
happen.
last tour. Yeah. I've
used
seen
to,
them. I've seen
I
them
used
3 or
to-
4 times. Yeah.
Seen them?
Yeah, they're really good. I really wanted to get tickets to this last tour that they're doing, but the cheapest seats were literally like behind the stage and $250, and I was like,
I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
I did see him one time. I was in New Jersey. I was by the stadium, and I was working, and I found out they were playing, and I went and I scalped a ticket.
Uh-huh.
And it was a cheap ticket. I sat up in the bleachers next to God, and at least I got to finally see Aerosmith. But I grew up listening to them, and they were a big influence on me. I remember seeing the movie, the Beatles movie, Sergeant Pepper's, and she took me to see it in the movie theater.
And Metallica and everybody else.
No, but I'm saying in the movie they had Aerosmith singing
Come Together.
Come Together, and I was a little kid, and I was like, oh, if I could do that. So I finally got to see them, and they did not disappoint, man. I seen them on a night where they just were on fire. And at least I got to walk away, because there's a lot of artists that, throughout the years that I love, like Elton John, and, that I never had a chance to see, unfortunately. But Aerosmith I did. But when I was a child, me and my best friend, we would throw on toys in the attic, and we would play air guitar on tennis rackets. And we would just draw in the attic. You're like throwing your guitar, your tennis racket around, and the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but you started playing at 5, so I don't know where you were throwing the tennis rackets.
I don't know. It was just the thing to do. Like yesterday, we were getting ready to film, and I pulled one of my tailors off the wall, and I started playing "Dream On." It just popped in my head, and I was like, I mean, come on, there's so many classic songs.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But great influences and great stuff to draw on, and comedy. I mean, you're right down the alley. I mean, you got it. And I do understand the concept of the musical comedy. There was a guy, I don't know if you remember his name, it was like Stephen Lynch or something like that. He was
Love Stephen Lynch. Yeah.
Comedian, but he did a lot of musical, satire, his own stuff.
Yep.
And it was brilliant. Like, I don't understand how you could say that's not enough. I mean, if it's funny, it's funny. If it entertains, it entertains.
Yeah. Yeah, Stephen Lynch is fascinating. I hadn't known about him until I started, performing as a musical comic. And people were like, oh, kind of remind me of Stephen Lynch. And I was like, I don't know who that is. Let me go find out. And he is so good. Like, he is really, really fascinating.
Really good. Yes.
Yeah. And he's a low-key performer. Like, he's great live. He's wonderful live. And so much fun. Yeah, love Stephen Lynch. Tim Minchin is another one who really really does it for me with the musical comedy stuff, which is he's just above and beyond anything. Just the musicality of what he does and his piano skills are just like every time I see him, I'm like, stop. Like
honestly,
I had
yes.
just filmed a special. I had just filmed the special where I did a bunch of stand up, and then I brought my band on stage, and we actually had the band as part of the stand up special. And it was super fun. I was very jazzed that I had my band on for my stand up special. And then Tim Minchin put out his next special with an entire orchestra backing him up. And I was like, all right, now I don't feel so good about my little band, you know.
You're like, I'm not gonna one up you. I'm gonna 800 up you.
Yeah. Yeah, he is
I'm gonna bring in
really, really good.
Metallica
Right.
and an orchestra.
Yeah.
I don't know, and Dionne Warwick. Why not?
We have a friend, and he's got an all-female Led Zeppelin band, but he plays in it,
Uh-huh.
and
He does the Jimmy Page. He's
Yeah.
actually, it's a unique story. He's an ophthalmologist.
Okay.
He's a doctor. He's down in Miami. He's a good friend of mine because he was in the tribute scene with me, and we had the same management. And we had him on the show, and he does Jimmy Page, and it's in the light of Led Zeppelin, so it was a Led Zeppelin tribute. But over time, he met his wife, Autumn, and she's his bass player.
Okay.
And over time, now he's got a full-on female Led Zeppelin tribute. Like, he's got the drummer's female, he's got a keyboardist that's female, and a violinist.
but he also has.
But he's got a male. He's got
he also
a male
has
singer.
a 60-piece band. If he wanted to play, he's got
Really?
60 pieces.
Nice.
Well, he hires an orchestra.
Well, yeah, he
Yeah.
does. But that, he aside from that, he has like 60 pieces. That's like going to the Philharmonic or something like that,
Sure.
Well, with Zeppelin, it actually works. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't work with everybody. We've seen, and you've seen throughout the years, people have gone that route with the orchestras,
Oh yeah.
and
for sure.
and there's certain people that lend itself well. Like I was joking about Yngwie Malmsteen. Yngwie Malmsteen, you know who he is, a classical heavy metal guitarist who's heavily influenced by Ritchie Blackmore and has that Euro metal style, very
Right.
arpeggiated, very speed, and then for him to sit down with an orchestra fits.
Sure.
Metallica did it.
Right.
It fits. There's certain people that can do it and get away with
Sure.
it. It really
Oh, yeah.
fits.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. That kind of stuff is always a fun project to do for anybody, but it's so hard to make money, with it at any level. Like Brian Setzer, his fantastic.
Oh my
orchestra
God,
on the
Brian
road.
Setzer's a god.
But I know he can't make money touring with an 18-piece orchestra the whole year,
Yeah.
So I've seen him with trios and quartets. I've seen him with the orchestra, he's one of those guys. He's like, yeah, whatever, just put a few people on stage and we're going to be amazing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he is so. I mean, everybody knows the Stray Cats. When the Stray Cats came out, it was rockabilly. It was a hit. It was a massive hit, actually, and the band took off. But us musicians that know Brian Setzer realize the genius and the amazing guitarist and musician that he is. I mean, he is you talk about guys like Steve Vai, and you can talk about a million guys, Steve Morse, but Brian Setzer's in that category.
Absolutely.
To me.
Yeah.
To me.
Brian Setzer makes me want to go home and practice.
Brian Setzer makes me want to quit.
But see,
he's one of those guys.
Yeah, when I see him, I go, I need to go home and practice now. He makes me jazzed to go home and play guitar.
He inspires you. I mean, his style and his feel and his. I was fortunate enough a couple months ago to go see the Winery Dogs, which is Billy Sheehan, Richie Kotzen, and Mike Portnoy.
Yeah, Richie Kotzen.
Richie Kotzen. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. So when you look at Richie Kotzen and he's sitting there finger picking, to the level that you're like, I gotta quit. I suck. I suck. That's really the moment where you're like, I really suck.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's I always, and I always tell this to my guitar students, everybody's on their own journey, and it's not, God, I was listening to an interview with was either a guitarist or a comedian. I can't remember, but those are the interviews I always watch. And he was talking about how, oh yeah, there's way better players than I am. Might have been like Andy Timmons or somebody like that. And he
Oh,
was just like, yeah,
he's great too.
he's like, I see guys on Instagram that blow me out of the water, but it doesn't matter because I've got what I do. People like what I do. Then
Mhm.
that's all I need, you know?
And that's
So, I
it.
mean,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
nobody
yeah,
out there that
you
knows
always have
everything.
to maintain your level of confidence and
Yeah,
realize. I mean, it's like anything else in life. There's always someone better,
for
you
sure.
know. But
Yeah.
it's really it's music, so it's doesn't really matter. It's what you do. People enjoy what you do,
Yeah.
you know, and how you present it and what you're into. That's really what it comes down to. Because if it was a skill contest,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be able to enter, you know, because I know such good people. I know Ron Thal. You ever hear of Ron Thal?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bumblefoot.
I
Yeah.
did an album with his brother Jeff, and so I've known Ron. I've met Ron. He's not from this planet. Like
Yeah.
he's literally not. I don't think a human being.
Oh.
I'm not sure. I think he's an alien because his brain works in a way that you can't understand.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how he's like a savant, you know. And when you meet people
Yep.
like that, you realize that's not me. That's never
Yeah.
gonna be me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and I mean
So
every guitarist that I've seen that starts out as just like I have to be the fastest, flashiest, badass guitarist on the planet. They get there, they kind of accomplish that goal, and then by the time they get there, they go, "Ah, I just realized that doesn't matter as much." You know?
yeah,
It's like,
I
you know,
realized
the
no one gave a shit.
yeah, I mean, the Ramones can't do what Steve Vai does. Steve Vai couldn't do what the Ramones did. You
Right.
know,
Right.
Mhm.
he could mimic it, but he couldn't do it with the same
Right.
No,
energy
Everybody's
behind
got
it,
their own place.
Yeah.
it's a look, it's
And
an
so, yeah,
attitude, it's a feeling, it's so much more than just the music sometimes.
yeah,
And that's why I always, and I taught, you know, guitar for a long time, and I would always tell my students, especially children, like just do what you love and it doesn't matter. And I'm
yeah,
gonna
Right.
teach you the boring stuff, but I'm gonna make you play music immediately because it's
yeah,
very easy.
yeah.
And it was really all about the ear. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
you could talk sharps, flats, modes, scales all day long, but it's really down to the ear, and that's for any musician.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's what I always preached. And it's unique when you see people like that. It's just and you mentioned Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, rock
Yeah.
star.
One of my only heroes that I never got to see live because I didn't get into him until after he passed away, and a friend of mine turned me on to him, and I was like, ah, how did I miss this?
I know.
You know?
Aw. So
So
where can our
now I
audience
watch every like online Stevie Ray bit
Oh
of footage
God,
I can
yeah.
find, Yeah.
where can our audience find you, Phil?
PhilJohnsonComedy.com. That's the headquarters for everything there.
PhilJohnsonComedy.com.
Yeah, and links to everything from there, all my social media and that kind of
Excellent.
stuff. And
On all your
yeah, so
social media.
yep,
Okay.
and so I've got 4 comedy specials out. There's a concert film with my band called Raising a Raucous. Lots of singles, lots of all sorts of stuff, and the new single Designer Babies just came out, and I'm very pleased with it.
And your schedule is on there too.
Yes, yeah, tour schedules
Yes.
on the website as well.
Okay.
Yep.
So they can see you, they can see where you're going to be and go out and take a look at you.
Yeah, if you just Google Phil Johnson comedy, I come up everywhere. Do not just Google Phil Johnson because the other guy is an evangelical religious philosopher who's a total jackass. And I keep
So are
trying
you
to get
coming
him
to
in the search engine
Jersey anytime
results.
soon?
I don't have anything booked there at the moment, but I do have a lot of family in New Jersey.
How
So
about Tampa,
I'm sure there'll
Florida?
be
You
for
got
me.
to get down here. Do
Uh,
Janice Live.
yeah, Florida. I haven't played Florida in a few years, but I'm due for some makeup
There's a
dates down there
lot
as
of
well.
great venues here in Tampa.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
Tampa is very
Yeah.
retro. It's very up and
Dude,
coming.
we have
It's
it
really great.
all here.
Yeah.
Outdoor, indoor. I mean, you
Mhm.
name it. Hard rock, House
Yeah.
of Blues, Janice
Mhm.
Live. I mean, I've done them all, and they're all good. Janice
Yeah.
Live is really cool because that's a beautiful venue. They have all national acts there, and it's a great venue to film live videos and pictures and stuff like that because the
Nice.
layout's
Excellent.
phenomenal.
Good stuff.
You stay in touch with me, man, because I could definitely talk to you about that stuff.
For sure.
Well, Phil, it was an honor to have you on the show. I really
Thank you for
enjoyed you,
having me. It's an honor to be here.
and I did listen to some of your comedy. It was pretty good. So
Thank you.
I didn't watch I watched like snippets of a
She
lot of
only
different
likes
things.
dirty comedy.
Yeah, well, I
She
like
only
it
likes
too.
dirty comedy.
I love comedians. What are you
She's
kidding
from
me?
Jersey.
I am
Come on.
Jersey. But it was a pleasure, and I'm so happy that you came on the show. We had the time together, and for all the audience out there, we are funnyminds.com, and you can go on our website, and we have a store there that you can buy some crazy Funny Minds stuff, and we're affiliated with 2 different organizations, and that's Women's Breast Cancer and St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And there's a big purple button. So if anybody is inclined to donate to those 2 organizations, they do some very, very wonderful things. And we're on video. So we're Spotify and YouTube. And then for the audio, it goes out to every single audio station. So I will let you know when you're coming up, when you're going to be viewed, and I'll share it with you.
Please
And
do.
you can share it with your people.
Yep.
And it was a pleasure. And I tell everybody all the time, be happy, be safe, be healthy, be kind, smile, and laugh, because laughter is always the best medicine. So Phil, you enjoy everything that you do, and I think you do.
I do.
And you're out there making
you so
people
much,
happy,
Phil.
and I thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
Absolutely. Keep
Okay.
crushing it, man.
Yeah.
it. All righty.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.